basically, what a crime scene investigator does is they look for stuff and they collect evidence. And evidence can be anything. It can be this hat, it can be a beaker, it can be fingerprints, it can be blood, it can be anything. A lot of times, crime scene investigators will look at things you cannot see, like fingerprints. Everybody has fingerprints, and they're all different. From when you're born until you die, they are the same. They're going to be your fingerprints. No one else has the same 10 prints that you do. They may be similar, but they're not exactly the same. And your fingerprints are made from the oils on your hand. So when you touch something, the oil is transferred to the item. And so what a crime scene investigator will do, they'll try and use powder or something on that object so you can see the print that shows up. So I thought, I have a couple cards here, so I thought if I could get a couple people who thinks they might have good fingerprints, if you don't, I'm going to be very sad if my experiment does not work. To see if you can give me a good print. Way in the back in the corner, the pink fuzzy, that pink fuzzy, yes. And yeah, you can do in the second room. Come on up. Okay, so grab a card here, or here. Come on up. And both of you two, just take one hand and just put it on a card. Just take one, yeah. Okay, there we go. Me too. Okay, do you see anything on those cards? Me either. Can you guys see anything from back there? No. Yeah, it looks pretty empty. I don't really enjoy the cards. Anyways, a crime scene investigator. See, I gotta be safe, you know. Sorry, you guys are kind of out on a limb here. What they'll do, one of the powders they use is called magnetic powder. We call it mag powder because we want to sound cool. It's got little metal flakes in it, mixed with the powder.
Something makes it feel like it's iron filings.
Could be. So then we have our little brush, and what we do is we try and brush the powder on the card to see if we can get some of the oils to stick to the powder. Other way around, see if the powder will stick to the oil. So, let's see what we can get. Yeah, you can pick that up if you want. Look at it. Okay. So let me just brushing. You got some. You are not. Do not go for electric crime because you got some really good prints. I don't able to see those. I don't know if you can see that from back there, but she does have 4 little fingers that go with yours. Those are just yours and yours alone. It's a little bit more difficult to see. I would need my readers, which I lost this morning, but I would need my readers to see that, but you still can. Do you guys want to keep those? Keep these cards because they're yours, as you know. I'm just gonna, fingerprints are fragile, so they will go away if you rub them off. You can rub them off the card. So I'm just gonna put a piece of tape on it just so you can keep it. Give you that. And I'll let you take your seat. Thank you. And I'll give you yours too. Hang on a minute. And so like I said, I know this one's kind of hard to see because it is black and it's real small. So thank you. Let you take your seat. So I thought I'd bring a gift bag up here and see if we can try something that's just a little bit bigger. So Miss Olivia, would you come up here and just grab some and bring them up with you? So I have a gift bag here. So what I want you two to do is take both hands and just, each of you put your hands on the bag somewhere. Yep, and you two. And I'll do a little bit up here too, just in case you guys decide not to give me good prints. You know, people are suspects. Okay, good. Why don't we grab one side, one the other side, just stand right in front here. And you on the other side. Okay. So a lot of times what, I could use black or mag powder on that, but it's kind of hard to see because we've got so much color on the bag. So a lot of times what they'll use is, I've got some fluorescent powder here, just some pretty colored powder. And we use some different colored light to see things. So you just take the brush and you're just gonna brush over it. See if you can see anything. And hopefully we will see something. Can anyone see anything on that yet?
No.
Yep, neither. Maybe a little bit up here. So, Mr. Josh, would you kill the lights? What I have here is a blue light, So hopefully we'll be able to see something when you look at it. Can you see? Lots of stuff there. Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah. You guys should not go for lots of crime either. Jesus will not like that, but we'll also be able to find you, just so you know. Isn't that kind of cool? So you can see things that you cannot see.
Ultraviolet light.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll let you just put it back down. Oh.
That's what I said.
So that's kind of fun. That's one of the things they look for. Another thing they look for is blood, or when people clean up blood, like bleach. Actually, I have some bleach here. So, what I got here, this is some synthetic blood. It's just fake blood. It's supposed to work like real blood. What a crime scene investigator will do when they're looking for blood, they'll use something they call Blue Star Forensic. But we're just going to call it Blue Star because, again, we are cool. We want to be cool, so we got Blue Star here. What it's supposed to do when it reacts with the blood, it's going to luminesce, which means it's just going to glow. Now let's see if it works. We hope it would work. The reaction's usually really fast, just a couple of seconds. Yes?
If I were to drink all that, would I glow?
No, you probably get sick because it's, and you might die. I'm not really sure. I've never tried it. They do say it is poisonous, so we'd have to call poison control. So let's see what happens. It didn't really do a whole lot. Not what I expected to do. Okay, well, anyways.
I think maybe you should just word on something.
Yeah, can I turn off the lights? Okay, thank you. Oh, well, it did turn. It's blue, it's not, you can see that blue back there. That's cool. Yeah, it used to be blood color. What's neat about Blue Star is that it will react for a long time. Like if you have a bloody nose and you bleed all over your shirt, then when you wash the shirt however many times, if you hit it with Blue Star, you're still going to be able to see the blood, even if it looks clean. A lot of times people will clean up stuff. Like if you have a bloody nose and you bleed on your kitchen counter or something, yeah, you're going to clean up, and a lot of times people use bleach. So what I got here is just a kitchen tile, just a regular floor tile. I'm just going to put some, ooh, look at that. I did this last hour, I must still have some Blue Star on it. But if someone has cleaned up something, we're going to be able to tell. Because, if you can use a squirt bottle, right? And then it goes better the other way. Let me try something here. Yeah, I will pour it, just a minute. And where's my, I don't know if you can see the little, I can see it on this, and I guess I can see it because I'm close. Anyways, let's see if we can, so we can get that. Whoa! Is that cool or what? Yeah, kind of look like the, you need a little closer, man. I'm trying. Obviously, me and a squirt bottle don't get along well.
Just pour it.
I probably should. That's probably better. I was trying to get some on the side of the glass. So just so you know that we're still going to be able to find you if you clean up stuff. So a crime scene investigator, they look for things. Have you ever had to look for something and maybe you lost something, then you had to go try and find it? Yeah, pretty much. I think everybody has.
My dog.
Oh. So what did you feel when you lost something and you realized that it was lost? Sometimes people might feel a little panicky. They might be afraid because they're like, oh, I'm not going to get in trouble when whoever finds out something's lost. But what happens when you find it?
You're relieved.
Very much. You're relieved. You might do the happy dance. You're like, yes, score, I'm not going to get in trouble. And the Bible says that people that do not know Jesus, they're lost. And Jesus said he came to save those who are lost. He came to seek and save those who are lost. So he looks for people that are lost, and then he tries to save them. And being lost is, it can be scary. Some people, they're not really physically lost, but they are spiritually lost because they do not know Jesus. And Jesus says those of us who know Jesus can be a light to them and tell them about Jesus, and that's always a good thing. We've been talking about Jesus the last few weeks and how he tells parables. Does anyone remember our big picture question says, why does Jesus tell parables? Does anyone remember the answer? Can you give me an answer?
This is Jesus.
Way in the back. Actually, they remember things, yes. Things about God, yes. Actually, that is. They just put it a different way, that Jesus tells parables to teach people about God and God's kingdom. And we've talked about 3 parables so far. The soil. The farmer who was throwing seeds in different kinds of soil. The unmerciful servant who wouldn't forgive someone the debt that was owed to him. And then the good Samaritan, the guy who decided to help somebody who needed help. So today, Jesus is going to talk about 3 parables in one day. So we're going to double the amount of parables that we've been talking about. So obviously, what he's going to be talking about today is pretty important. So we're going to watch the video and see what Jesus wants to tell us about him today. Wants us to learn.
Tax collectors and sinners came to listen to Jesus teach. The religious leaders complained because Jesus welcomed sinners. So Jesus told them 3 parables to teach them about God. Jesus said, if a man has 100 sheep and loses one, what does he do? He leaves the 99 sheep in the open field and searches for the lost sheep until he finds it. Then he tells his friends, let's celebrate. I found my lost sheep. Then Jesus said, this is what heaven is like. There is more joy in heaven when one sinner repents and turns back to God than for 99 people who did not wander off.
Jesus said, if a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one of them, what does she do? She lights a lamp, sweeps the house, and searches carefully until she finds it. Woohoo! Then she tells her friends, let's celebrate. I found my lost coin. Then Jesus said, this is what heaven is like. There is joy in heaven when one sinner repents and turns back to God. Finally, Jesus said, a man had 2 sons. The younger son said, Father, give me my inheritance today. So the father gave his son his share. The younger son left home. He wasted his money and lived foolishly. There was a famine, and the people there did not have enough food. The son got a job feeding pigs. He was so hungry, even the pigs' food looked tasty.
The younger son made a plan. He would go back to his father and admit he was wrong. He would ask to work for his father like the servants. So the younger son headed home. He was still a long way away when his father saw him coming. His father ran to him, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son began to apologize. I have sinned against God and against you, he said. But the father told his servants, let's celebrate with a feast. Bring the best robe and put it on my son. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. This son of mine was lost, and now he is found.
At this time, the older son came from the fields and heard music at the house. What's going on? He asked one of the servants. Your brother is here, the servant said. Your father is celebrating. The older brother was angry. He refused to go to the feast. The father asked him to come inside. Look, the older brother said, I never disobeyed you, but you never threw a party for me. Son, the father said, everything I have is yours. We have to celebrate and be happy. Your brother was lost and is found.
The religious leaders complained that Jesus welcomed sinners. Jesus told these parables to teach about God's forgiveness. God sent Jesus so sinners can be forgiven. As Savior, Jesus seeks sinners. He paid the ultimate price, his own life, to save people from sin.
Okay, so Jesus told 3 parables. The first one about the sheep. The guy had 100 sheep, and one of them wandered off, so he went searching for that one sheep, and when he found it, he grabbed it, and he was real happy, and he celebrated. And Jesus said, hey, that's what it's like in heaven. When one person who turns from their sin and turns to God, all of heaven's going to celebrate. And then Jesus said, okay, there's a woman, she had 10 coins, and she lost one. And so when she went looking for it and she found it, she went to her neighbors and she told them, hey, we need to celebrate because I found my coin that was lost. Again, that's like heaven when one person turns from their sin and turns to God. All of heaven's going to celebrate. And then Jesus told the parable of the prodigal son, which probably all of you guys know. The son says, hey, Dad, I want my inheritance. And Dad says, oh, son, that's not a good idea. Son says, I don't care. I'm leaving. Father says, okay. Gives him the inheritance. Kid goes off. He's out in the weeds somewhere doing whatever. He wastes all of his money. He's got nothing. And, he's going to starve to death. So he's like, okay, well, I guess I know I was wrong. I guess I can go back. Dad's going to be really angry. He's probably doesn't want me as a son anymore because, he's so mad. But I'm going to go home anyways, and maybe he'll at least give me a job and I can be a servant. So he goes home. What does Dad do? When he gets home? Yeah.
Celebrate.
Exactly. He celebrated. He saw the son. He went running out to him. He grabbed him. He hugged him. He gave him a kiss. And he said, we're having a party because you're back. And that's like God, what God does with us. When we're out there in the weeds somewhere and we're doing whatever we're doing that's not right, and we decide to come back to God and like, God, please forgive me. I'm sorry. God is always happy to forgive us. He doesn't like it when we sin, but when we repent, we ask for forgiveness, he will always, always forgive us because he loves us that much. So in the story, they just had this big party. Woohoo! That was it, right? End of story. Happily ever after? Yes? No. What about the older brother? The father had the 2 sons. The younger one went off and then came back, and the older one stayed, and he was working, doing what he always did. But the older son was angry. He wasn't thinking about his younger brother. He was thinking all about me. He was like, Dad, what about me? I do everything you tell me, and yet you never give me a party. How come? Jesus said, hey, that older brother, it's like you Pharisees out there. He was telling this story to the Pharisees and those religious leaders. They all know God's law, and they try and keep God's law. Just like the older brother did. He did everything Dad said. The Pharisees try and do everything God says. And yet the Pharisees were angry with Jesus because Jesus was out there talking to people that may not do the right thing all the time. Sounds like most people. Talking to people that sin. Sounds like everybody. Jesus was he was seeking those that are lost and trying to save them. And the Pharisees were angry at Jesus for talking to these people and trying to bring them to heaven, trying to save them. Really? So then we have our experiments here. And I must admit, if this was my piece of evidence and I actually found wherever those fingerprints were on here, that I'd be like, hey, woohoo, detective, look what I got. And we'd be doing the happy dance in the office until they told us to go back to work. So, then which would last for 5 seconds. Or, if we were out on the scene and we were looking at stuff and then we go, hey, we just got a reaction there. We'd be like, woohoo, high five. We'd be doing the happy dance because we knew we got the suspect. And Jesus said that's the same thing. When you find something or someone who is lost and they turn from their sin and come back to God, heaven's going to celebrate. They're going to be doing their own little heavenly happy dance out there. And that's kind of cool. Okay. So our key passage, we're just going to jump right to that because I'm almost out of time. It's from Mark 6:34. So let's say it one time together. Ready on 3? 1, 2, 3. When Jesus saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. Mark 6:34. Okay.